Hi everyone, my name's George, and welcome to that's State of the Game Log for short. I've been making strides with my game development journey, and I figured the next step would be share my progress with a wider audience. Never really done something like this before, so I'm a little nervous, but we're doing it anyway, and I'm excited to share. So I plan on making a new SOG log each week. That's State of the Game Log, which will document my progress in a more laid-back way than I see a lot of other YouTube videos do. I don't really know how to edit very well, so I don't really have any choice. It's going to be a lot of me talking at you. This first one, though, I'm going to talk about the progress I've made on my physical media RPG, which I'm calling Print Made for now. Real name is to be determined. So this all started when I wanted to find out if you could animate a character with screen printing, which is like cutting out a stencil and pulling ink through it. Turned out you can, and it gave a really unique look that I really liked. I'll probably put one of my test runs on screen right now. Pretty cool, right? So I wanted to keep exploring this theme of like physical media and like handmade stuff. And that's kind of how I landed on the... Most turn-based RPGs, there are two main things you can do. You can attack, or you can apply a status. Status can be like raising your Pokemon's attack, or healing a party member, or any of that stuff. I thought, what if, instead of pressing a button to apply a status, you printed a decal on your enemy? So these are images that are actually on the enemy. So if you have a sword decal on your enemy, I'll probably keep putting examples on screen, their attack will get bigger. And the only way to get rid of it is by printing over it with a decal of your own. And you can do all sorts of things. You can increase defense, you can have something that heals them every turn, and that will all be shown on the enemy sprites. And this actually solved a major gripe I have with a lot of turn-based RPGs, which is you have these beautiful, beautiful characters that are like so cool looking, and a whole team of people were designing them, but eventually the player just sees them as nothing more than numbers because the image doesn't really have anything to do with the gameplay. The example I really have where the image does affect the gameplay is in really minor ways, like this Pokemon's green, so if I do a fire move, we'll probably do extra damage. And I don't like that. I like crazy visuals and having to be like, oh, I wonder if that's a weak spot. It kind of looks like a weak spot, so let's attack there. And I thought that if you were applying debuffs and buffs to the enemy, you'd be a little bit more involved in what it looks like. So with this system, you can see someone's eyes and be like, if I print over their eyes, it will reduce their accuracy, and it will. Or maybe you have an ink color that's the same color as the background. And so maybe like with some negative space stuff, you can make a whole enemy disappear by covering it up. Or in the opposite way, if your ink color is the same color as the enemy's skin, your debuff won't work because it just blends right in. It's like it wasn't even there. So I think this opens the door for a lot of really interesting ways to make combat less like player stats versus enemy stats and more like player versus enemy. So that's the core theme. Everything I'm doing is sort of built around this main idea of physical media, specifically printmaking. So far I've finished the battle systems, so that's attacking, printing, equipping. I haven't done using items yet, but dialogue systems, cutscene systems, player controllers, I've done all that. And so I've made really good progress. It's kind of the fastest I've ever moved on a project before. And I've also started working on the introduction scene to the game, which I think will be pretty cool. That sort of main overview done, I'm gonna get started with my roses and thorns. So I'll do this every week just to sort of talk about what made me happy and what might have been kind of a minor annoyance. The rose, I'm really proud of the art I made for this week, especially the roses and thorns graphic. We'll put that on screen one more time. It's pretty cool looking. Yeah, I made a lot of cool art this week. I finished the character animator, which I showed off. I finished all of the graphics I made for this video this week, which has been pretty cool. I've also been doing growing a lot as like a traditional like still life artist in my classes, and so that's been a lot of fun. But as for thorns, nothing major this week, which I think is a good sign. I'd say the one thing is that since I spent a lot of my time this week working on this video, I lost a little bit of momentum on the game, but what can you do? What can you do? Yeah, I think that about covers everything I wanted to talk about in this video. The next ones will be more specific because they'll just talk about what I did that week. So if I work on something all next week, I'll be talking about that and everything that went into it next week. Speaking of which, my goals for next week are to figure out enemy interaction, design some environments for my new guy to walk around in, and maybe if we have time, we'll get to a new enemy. Am I pointing at it? Hope so. Yeah, so if you're excited to see that next week's video, going into more detail about my process and all that, should like, subscribe, and comment, "Long live George Nation." Comment that, or I won't respond. I really want everyone to comment that. That's a big deal to me. I'd ask you to wishlist the game on Steam, but $100 is a little out of my price range right now. That's it. I'll see everyone next week. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is gonna be fun. Is this good? Comment "Long live George Nation" if this is good. Bye.